Is it a good idea to give pricing over the phone for your junk removal jobs? The short answer to this for me is no. I want to dive into detail of why I feel that is based off researching and listening to hundreds of sales calls in junk removal. But with that being said, I also don't want someone who might be having a successful business model by giving quotes change that if it's working for you. But for most of you, you may not realize it, but the fact that you're openly giving quotes could be hampering the business. Let me explain a little bit. So with junk removal, most phone calls end that don't turn into sales with, yeah, that'll cost this. And the customer saying, okay, great, I'll call you back. I'll ask my husband, I'll ask my wife, blah, 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 blah. And the reason why this happens, there's a few things behind it. So here are the reasons. One, usually most of the customers who are calling you for junk removal have absolutely no idea either how this works or what the expectation should be for cost. That's number one. Number two is they are usually calling around to get an idea. So once you present them with the cost, they're just going to take your cost and ask the next company, which is a severe disadvantage to you. All right. So usually when you're losing these calls by giving price, it's because of these two things. And the minute that you give a price over the phone, you've now lost all of your leverage in the conversation because they can simply take that quote now and they're going to make one of two choices. One, they're either going to move forward and put themselves on your schedule, or two, they're going to wonder if that's the best price for them and they're going to call a competitor. And number two typically happens more than number one because of what I just mentioned and the fact that they're coming in without an understanding of the industry. So they are unsure of whether that quote that you gave them is a good one or not, and they're going to compare that through someone else. And unfortunately, when that happens, when they call somebody else and they give the price that you gave them, odds are that competitor is going to beat your price. Unless they call 1-800-GOT-JUNK or somebody in the area who's severely higher than you when it comes to quotes, chances are if they call somebody else who's local, they're going to say, all right, well, we could do 140. Let's say you gave a quote of 150. They're going to beat it by a smaller margin, which then in return, they have no reason to give you a call back. So once they hang up, it's rare that you're going to get a call back. You've lost. That was your leverage, just the pricing. This is why I prefer on-site estimates for larger jobs, because they're obviously prioritized by you as a business owner, and we don't want to make a mistake in the way that we quote it, and we want to avoid that. So obviously seeing that on site is important there, but also because I know that you're going to be much more likely to close the deal in front of the customer than you will by just giving them a price over the phone. Disregard this for mattress pickups, your single items, things of that nature. I do not need you driving out doing on-site estimates for those, but even in the way that you present your pricing for those is important. So let's say you are giving pricing and it's 2 mattresses or it's a couch and a mattress. You should be, in addition to giving that price, giving the customer a level of understanding on why your price is what it is. So what's the process behind picking up the junk? The fact that you have dump fees, labor costs, fuel costs. You need to give them an understanding of these things because most of you are failing to realize that even though you understand those business costs, your customer does not. 95% of your customers have no idea that you're actually charged to dump their items. Therefore, they're not taking that into consideration when you're giving your price. They're not thinking about fuel costs. They're not thinking about labor costs. They're not thinking about costs of advertising. How many of you guys just to get a phone call have to pay $20, $40, $50, $60, even more? They don't understand that. So because of that, a lot of times they're taken aback by the price. And when you immediately just give them a quote and you're not giving them a level of understanding of why your price is what it is, then you fall in a very severe disadvantage, especially if they call somebody else who's just going to underbid you, which is going to be the case most of the time. So when you start to understand these things, I feel like it helps you craft your sales process and the way that you operate on the phone a little bit better. Because most of the time, we are coming at an angle of what we understand, but not necessarily what the customer understands. And we're forgetting that even though we know what goes into this business and how hard it is to accommodate all the overhead and the things that you need to accommodate for in your business, they're not doing that. So giving them an understanding of how it works, what goes into it, why things are the way they are, but then also trying to portray it in the best interest of the customer. It's another thing that I want to pinpoint for you guys. So when you're giving reasonings behind something in your business, try to swing it in their direction as far as whether it be convenience for them, different areas that you could take advantage of. An example of this being, let's say you're discussing why you do an on-site estimate. To swing it in the customer's favor as far as making it look like it's something for them, you could say, well, Miss or Mr. Customer, how about I get a day and time that works best for you? We've actually got an opening later today between 4 to 6. And what we're going to do is we're going to come by and take a look at these items on site. And the reason why we want to do that is we charge by the amount of space that's taken up on the truck. And we want to make sure that the quote that we give you is 100% spot on. I don't want there to be any errors in the quote that I give you. And the best way for us to do that is to see those items on site. It'll be no obligation. It's no cost. It's a free on-site estimate. Just need a few minutes of your time. We'll come by later today or tomorrow, get you on the schedule. And if the price works for you, we'll be ready to haul away those items later today or tomorrow, whenever we schedule. So what I'm doing is I'm giving them an understanding of how it works, but also I'm putting it in their perspective of why it's best for them, instead of just talking about me in the business. Because truthfully, we do know that if we did give a quote, there is a chance that we could underquote without seeing the items, right? How many of you guys have got pictures sent to you and given a quote, and all of a sudden, guess what? Either that picture was deceiving, or maybe not all the items are shown, and now all of a sudden the customer's thinking that it's going to be the cost that you gave them, when in reality, that was a lower bid because we didn't know about the other items. So it helps save you, helps save them, and you're portraying in your process the ways that it benefits them. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the customer. And the better that we can benefit them, the more likely we are to close the sale. I'll give you guys one more example before I wrap up this video. A lot of the guys, when I listen to the calls, they like to quote via pictures. And when they do that, I tend to hear a lot of them say, all right, send me a text at 443, blah, 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 blah. Why not just text the customer? You have their number. Why not text the customer and let them know in the text, hey, this is Blake from such and such junk removal. Send over those pictures that we discussed on the phone to this line, please. And this might seem small and insignificant, but this is a very little detail that you're simplifying the way that the customer is interacting with you, right? So instead of them taking down the number and trying to put the number in their phone and risking them mishearing a number, and all of a sudden you've completely lost most likely your opportunity at this job unless they call back. Why not just simplify for the customer? The more that you can simplify things for them, the more likely you are to close the deal. Now, if you're driving and you're not able to do that, I completely understand. I get it. In that case, I don't want you texting while you're driving. So take that for what it's worth. But that's an example for you guys, right? If you can simply text them, if you're going to go that route, then send them a text and say, hey, it's Blake from such and such junk removal. Send me those pictures we were talking about. And I've said this before, if you're going to go that route, I would still try and get them on the schedule, because the more of a commitment that I can get for them, the more likely I am to close the deal. So even if I'm getting pictures, I would say, look, I'm going to text you right now for my number, but we only have a few openings today or tomorrow, whatever your availability is. And I want to make sure that I can get you on the schedule to get this taken care of. Because once again, keep in mind, benefit for the customer. Most of these customers want it done today or tomorrow. We know that. So we want to appeal to the benefit of them. So that's why we quote it that way, right? We're saying, look, I want to make sure we have limited availability right now for today. And I know you said you wanted to get this done. So how about I get you on the schedule now? I'm going to text you and I'll be able to get you arranged based upon the photos that you sent me. So I'm just getting that commitment and I'm framing it in the customer's benefit. Okay. because that's most important. We're doing everything we can to simplify things and benefit the customer. And the more level of a commitment you have from them, the better chance you have of closing the deal. So on the flip side, let's say you get pictures and there's no commitment, they don't like your price. Well, once again, leverage is lost. They're going to call the next person. At least in this case, maybe you already have them on the schedule. They get that cost that's a little bit higher than maybe they would have liked. But in their brain, they're going, well, you know what? I do want to get this done today. I already have a spot later today from 2 to 4. And even though it's a little bit more than I was hoping for, I don't feel like calling around and not only canceling this schedule that I have, but also calling somebody else now and getting on their schedule. Maybe they won't have availability. So it's just little things that can add up that can prevent them from just calling someone else because of us framing it properly or us setting them up and getting a commitment. So take these things in consideration on your next calls. I promise you they will help. I listen to these calls daily. Guys, a lot of you have an opportunity for improvement in your sales, and this could be the piece that you use to scale your business. Because if you can increase your booking rate 5%, 3%, 10% more, then that's 3%, 10%, 5% more business that you will have this year and a lot more layers of confidence for you and your business when you're on these calls. So if you guys have any questions on this, leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to help. Again, I review a lot of these calls for junk removal, and these are consistent things that I hear. So most likely, there's something in your process right now that you could switch up a little bit in regards to what I mentioned in the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.